guess just listen. You're going to have to install 2 programs on your computer. Okay? The first one is R. You just go to Google, you type in the letter R, search, and the first thing that comes up is going to be R project. Okay? And you go to that website, and on the left-hand side of the page, you're going to have links for downloading. It's going to say like CRAN, C-R-A-N, and that's where you would download the thing. You pick, Windows or Mac OS or Linux, whatever you're using, and you download it that way. Okay, and you're going to install that. Okay. So technically, if you get R installed, you can do the lab. There is like a pretty interface called RStudio, okay, that sits on top of R. So you have to have R installed first, and then you can install RStudio. So if you install R by itself, you can use it, but it's like using a terminal, just a command prompt, and you have to type everything in. And some people like that, okay. But there's something called RStudio. It's an interface that sits on top of R, and it just makes it a little bit prettier. Okay, you can click some of the things. You still have to type in your commands and do that. Okay, so install R, then you're going to go to Google again, and you're going to search for RStudio, and it will you'll download that and install that. Okay, so you have R, and then you have RStudio. It doesn't matter if you use 1 or 2 words to search for RStudio. Okay, so download and install both of those things. Okay, and then when you open up R, you're going to see all of this like license information. Everything is free, by the way. And then you'll get this this looks like a greater than sign. Okay, this means R is ready for input. Okay. And so you can type in something like 2 plus 2, and then you hit enter, and then it's going to spit out this. Okay? So you get this bracket thing, and it says, so R is set up to handle statistics, which often means you're dealing with more than one number at a time. Okay? So, if you have lots of numbers, it always starts off with this bracket 1, which says the first part of your answer is 4. Okay? And in this case, we only have one part, so the first and only part of our answer is 4. Okay, but if I said, take the square root of this list of 100 numbers, it would list off, the first maybe 10 numbers here, and then it would start a new line, and it would say the 11th number in this sequence and the 20th number in the sequence, or something like that. And it would just keep going like that. Anyway, there's some commands that you can use. Excuse me. One, to do our calculations. You have d by Noam, and this does calculations for us. Okay. So if we wanted to know what is the probability that just 50 shells out of 100 are straight, we would do d by Noam 50 100.6. Okay, this says, what is the probability of getting 50 successes if I have 100 trials, and the probability of success is 0.6. Okay, and then we could also do d by Noam 51 100.6. Okay, and this is still going to be a lot of work to do. Well, we could, there's shortcuts, and I can do 50:70, and this is equivalent to writing 50, 51, 52, 53, all the way up to 70. 50:70 is equivalent to writing 50 through 70. Okay, so I could do d by Noam 50:70, comma 100, comma 0.6, and it would spit out all of the numbers that we would have over here. 100 choose 50, 100 choose 51, all the way up to 100 choose 71. Okay, that's still a lot of numbers to add up. Okay, is this kind of well? I understand I'm just writing on a chalkboard and we're not seeing anything being produced. Okay, but when I hit enter here, it's going to spit out 21 numbers. Okay, and it's all of the results of 100 choose 50, 100 choose 51, and so on. Okay. Well, I could say, well, add those up. So I'm going to do sum. I'm going to put the word sum around d binom 50 colon 70 comma 100 comma 0.6. And I need to have a second parentheses to close off the sum. Okay. And that says, well, if this thing on the inside of sum spits out 21 numbers, I want you to just add all of those up. Okay? And if we do that, we would get the answer that we're looking for. Is that okay? Okay. P binom, we have a function called P binom. P binom is similar to D binom, except when you plug in P binom 50, 100.6, what this will give you is essentially it's doing this sum. It's basically doing the sum of everything from 0 to 50. Okay? So what P binom does is it basically does everything 50 and less. So it's basically summing the answers of D binom from 0 to 50. Now why would we want that? Okay. Well, sometimes we're trying to get 50 or less. That's what we're going for. Okay. So let's just quick check of our understanding. What would P binom 100 comma 100.6 be? That would add up to P binom would be what? P binom 100 comma 100 would be equal to 1, right? Because it's adding up from 0 to 100, and that covers every single possibility, and so the total probability of every single possibility would be 1. Okay. So one way to answer this question would be to do sum d binom 50 colon 70, and another way to answer this question would be to do P binom 70, 100.6 minus P binom, what? 49, 100.6, okay? Because if I do P binom 50, it would subtract off getting 50, and I want to leave 50 in there, so I would do P binom 70 minus P binom 49, okay? And you could put that all in one line, okay? And you could double check. You can see if sum d binom 50 colon 70 is equal to P binom 70 minus P binom 49. Some of you are just like, what are you talking about? But I am out of time. Okay, so we also have P norm and Q norm. And then, oh gosh, I'm running out of time here. And I also leave instructions on importing a file. Q norm, okay. P norm is basically using looking up the z-score in the z table. Okay. So if I do P norm 0, I would get 0.5, right? Because if you look up a z-score 0, the area you'd get is 0.5, okay? Q norm works the opposite, okay? So if I do Q norm 0.5, it would spit out the z-score that gives me 0.5, so Q norm 0.5 would be 0, okay? So, and this is it basically has a built-in z table that's way more precise than the table that you have in the back of your book, okay? So this is basically, you put in a z-score, and you get an area. And here you put in the area, and you get a z. Okay? And there's options to include the mean and the standard deviation. So you could do P norm, you know, if we were doing the giraffe problem, 1500, where the mean is 1600 and the standard deviation is 150, it says, okay, well, you've given me these numbers, so I'm going to calculate the z-score myself and tell you the area that corresponds to it, okay? So, you know, you're giving it a mean mu and a standard deviation, and it can figure it out on its own. Okay, see, there's options to include a mean and a standard deviation. So one last thing, and I know I'm going over the time here, is that you have to, there's a part where I'm going to ask you to import some data and create some histograms and create some graphs, okay? And this part is going to be the most frustrating part, just because if you've never used a computer language before or never done programming, you're going to find out that computers are very, very, very picky about whether things are capitalized and if things are spelled the exact way they're supposed to be spelled, okay? And one of the problems you're going to run into is that you can take a mean of a list of numbers by typing in mean, okay? And I'm going to say, you know, take the mean of some blood pressure numbers. But when you do the mean of blood pressure numbers, it's going to give you an error, okay? Because it's going to say, it's going to return back NA, okay? So what you want to do, oh, and I forgot, it's either NA.RM equals true, capital TRUE, or rm.na, and I always forget which way it goes, equals true, okay? So you want to include, and I forget, forgive me for this, but I think what you're essentially going to want to do is you're going to want to do mean of the blood pressure, comma, na.rm, or rm.na equals true, all right? And I can't remember if it's rm.na or na.rm. Okay. You can always do question mark mean, and this will pull up the help file associated with the mean function. And somewhere in the help file it will say that it's na.rm or rm.na. Okay. We had a question. No. Question.
Is this in the book or?
It's not in the book. I've written out kind of a short guide to it, okay? But a lot of the purpose of this lab is to just get your feet wet and get you to kind of try things out on your own with R. And part of it is to experience a little bit of the frustration as you're trying to figure some things out, okay? But you know what? If it's taking you, I would say more than 2 hours, just stop, okay? There are labs that aren't worth an incredible lot of points, okay? So don't lose any more, don't have any more grief than that, okay? Yeah, for this lab.